back on part 3 of the video. Last, like, I don't know, 16 slides. Hopefully we can knock this out in 20 minutes or so. So now we have our Manchus who are going to descend from the Jurchens, excuse me. They're going to defeat Li Ziqing, and they're going to start the Qing or the Pure dynasty. They're going to have a small population of 1 million Manchus who is going to find a way to govern 25 million Chinese people. And they're going to know they're outnumbered, but they're going to do all they can to work with the population groups so that they don't get run out of town. Even though it's kind of going to be dicey, it's going to end up being a very great thing for the Chinese Empire. So we see the Qing is going to expand its realm in terms of territories, economies, and populations. We have our early Manchu emperors who were successful because they were able to they were able and diligent administrators with flexible and respect for local tradition. So they weren't just coming in and destroying everything. They were like, give and take. We're going to be fair about this. They're going to promote patriarchal values, so that father, that man, that mandate of heaven, and also that Confucius era thinking where the father or the filial piety is really, really important. So you respect the father, you respect the God, who's usually a male, then the male in your household and things like that, and the male ruler and all that, okay? So they're going to translate important documents into Manchu, so it's going to spread more culture. So we know from our previous DBQ, when you translate things or expand the amount of languages that something is translated into, it helps with literacy and it helps to expand culture throughout those regions. So we're going to see decree that all Han men shave their foreheads and wear a braided queue in the back in their Manchu practice. So you guys have probably seen that before, the men who have the shaved sides and the ponytail in the back. We're going to also ban intermarriage between the Han and the Manchus, although it's difficult to enforce when you only have 1 million Manchu and 250 million Han people. All right. Here's our map as we shift from Ming to Qing. So we can see originally here is Manchuria up here. The Manchus, Manchuria, that's where they're going to come down from and join in. And we see as the Manchus come down over time, we're going to see the difference. We're going to see the evolution of the culture. Okay. And so we'll also see the other areas in some of our tributary states as well, including the Korean Peninsula. All right, and we'll see Japan and the Philippines as well. All right, so the Manchus imposition and taxes fell mostly on the peasants. They pay for everything, okay? Peasants began to live in border areas, planting New World crops like corn and sweet potatoes that grew in better soil. And so we'll see that the rice that we know now associate with Asia or with China is really going to be for the wealthy people during this time period. And the peasants are going to eat corn and sweet potatoes instead because it's easier to grow and it costs less time. Growing rice is it can be easy to grow, but it is very labor intensive at times. Okay. We're going to see commerce is flourishing during this time period, and we're going to have an imperial decree in 1759 that establishes the Canton system, requiring European traders to have Chinese guild merchants act as guarantors for behavior and payment of fees. So the Chinese still do not trust the Europeans, so much so they want them to create a group or a company before they are allowed to come into Asia or China to trade. So here we go again. If any Europeans want to come into China and trade, they have to create a guild or a group of people who can verify that they are going to pay on time and that they are going to act appropriately, because that was an issue when the Europeans came into other areas. Their culture did not line up with everybody else's culture. They tended to be a lot more rowdy and a lot more disrespectful and not really caring about the environment or the people as well. So they're going to make sure that the Europeans are acting properly if they want to be able to trade in China. The Qing are going to force tributary relations with Korea, Vietnam, Burma, and Nepal. So as we go back to this map, tributes, I'm going to force you to pay or I'm going to take you over. So these areas are all going to be tribute areas for the Qing. They're going to expand their territory into Central Asia, Tibet, and Mongolia. So we see that right here. Here is Central Asia. Okay. Here is Tibet. And where is Mongolia? Where are we at? Let me find it. Oh, I'm being blind, can't see it. Here we go. Upper Mongolia, Outer Mongolia, and Inner Mongolia. So we have that right there. The Ming is going to rely on Chinese agriculture for its economic health and not overseas trade, which some historians see as their failure to adapt to the the changing world. So I think that means Qing, not the Ming. Okay, so the Qing are going to rely on agriculture for its economic health and not the overseas trading. So that's still going to be an issue both in the Ming and the Qing dynasty. They're not going to rely on European trading as much as they probably should. We'll see. New levels of Chinese prosperity. We're going to see a new level of Chinese prosperity in 1644 as they continue to rake in all that silver, rake in all this trading, but things are starting to shift. All right, our Tokugawa Japanese period, okay? Tokugawa, that's for a nexus, Tokugawa. So we have Japan is going to dealt with external pressures better than its Asian counterparts. Single family rule is going to emerge from the Tokugawa shogunate, who regulate intrusion. So from 1603, I believe it is. Let's check this out. So from 1603 all the way until 1867, we're going to have a hereditary ruler. Oh, wow, there it is. Moving ahead of myself, okay? So we're going to see a hereditary ruler popping up in in Tokugawa, Japan until 1867. So a little bit over 250 plus years, okay? So in the 16th century, the Japanese is going to have civil strife as no regional ruling family or daimyo with private armies of warriors called samurai could establish preeminence over others. In 1603, the Tokugawa Ieyasu seized and took the title of shogun or military ruler, and we're going to see that lasting, or his family rule, until 1867. He's going to move his capital from Kyoto to Edo, or modern day Tokyo. So that's going to be a major shift in moving people and moving things and moving all that stuff. You guys can read about that in your book. So under the Tokugawa, we're going to see villages pay taxes to daimyos who transferred resources to the shogun. Samurais are going to become administrators. Peace brought prosperity and agriculture thrived. So when the country is peaceful, life is good. The economy thrives. Everything goes well. Am I missing anything? And the population is going to swell during this time period. It's not mentioned in the PowerPoint. Population over a 10-year time period increases by 6 million people, and then over the next, so it goes from 10 million to 16 million between 1550 and 1600. Oh wait, in a 50-year time period, we gained 6 million people. So between 1550 and 600, we have originally 10 million people, and then it's going to go to 16 million people. And then by 100 years later, in 1700, we have 30 million people. So population has almost doubled in 100 years. All right, so we can see our Tokugawa, Japan. We can see, what is that? The outer daimyos, the hereditary daimyos, and the Tokugawa domains. So blue, Tokugawa domain. This pinkish color, salmon color, is going to be our hereditary daimyos. And then we have our outer daimyos, which are going to be the darker ones. That guy, this one, and some of these ones through here. All right, so the most pressing, so foreign affairs and foreigners, the most pressing concern were Christian missionaries and European traders. So the Japanese allowed the Christians to come in, but they rapidly realized that the Christian people were very intolerant and not going to ever be tolerant or accept anyone who was not Christian or did not believe in Jesus Christ. So they're going to try to push them out as rapidly as possible. And so we're going to see them restrict European trades to ports, kind of like what the Chinese did and the Indians did as well under Edo into Honshu. They're going to expel all European competitors except for the non-proselytizing Dutch merchants who were allowed to remain near Nagasaki with one ship per year. So very little trading is going to happen, but the Dutch trading ships are so large and so gigantic that even though they probably wanted more, that one ship carried lots of different goods, okay? Tokugawa did not completely isolate Japan. They're going to trade between China and Korea. So they don't trade with the Europeans, they trade with other Asian counterparts. So they're going to limit their encounters with Dutch and Chinese technology, shipbuilding, and medicine to ensure Japan's security. So they're going to try to exclude all the outsiders for as long as possible so they can control or continue to control their regions. 37, 10 more to go. So in a 150-year period, we have religious conflict. Oh, transformation in Europe. We have religious conflict, commercial expansion, and consolidation of dynastic powers transform Europe. We're going to see what happens in Spain, in Portugal, in France, in England, and finally in Russia, and how that happens. We're going to see our commercial centers are going to shift north, and then we're going to see how, as I said previously, all of these different countries are going to interact and grow into what we know today. All right, the Russian Empire became one of the world's largest states. So it's currently the world's largest country. It is a gigantic, gigantic area of land. I encourage you guys to all look it up because you guys need to know where Russia is. Okay. It's largest state. It's gonna eliminating the steppe nomads. So people who are moving around, they're gonna push those out, and it's gonna culturally belong to both Europe and Asia. If you look at the location of it, it's smack dab in the middle of Eurasia. Honestly, a lot of it is actually in Asia, even though the majority of the people who are in Russia are European or white or Caucasian, excuse me. All right, so now we have the Muscovy became the Russian Empire. Another term for Russians is Muscovites, and Muscovite comes from Muscovy. So Peter the Great, we're going to do a DBQ on him next week, so get ready for it. Peter the Great is going to name it the Russian Empire in the 1700s. So it's going to be a mixture, like a lot of other empires, of a lot of different languages, a lot of different cultural groups and things like that. So we're going to have Slavic people, Finnish people, and Turkish speakers all together in one. So they're going to continue to grow, and they're going to seize territory in the 1400s and the 1500s. And they're going to have dynastic chaos following the death of Tsar Ivan IV in 1583. And Tsar is just another form of Caesar. So Caesar or Kaiser, excuse me, as some of you guys who have Latin know. So Caesar, Kaiser, Tsar, same thing. You also see Tsar spelled C-Z-A-R. It's the exact same thing. There's either between Tsar with a T and Tsar with a C. So we're going to see the Romanovs are going to emerge as a new family of rulers, retaining power into the 20th century. Okay. All right. So the 16th and 1700s, the Romanovs created an absolute government. So an absolute government means only the Tsar has the right to make war, tax, judge, and coin money. And we'll see how these absolutist governments are going to change in different places at different times. Okay. Nobles are going to serve as bureaucrats. They're going to lose their nobility and be put to work. Next up, we have local